If tomorrow all the things were gone, I'd work for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife. I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Central Valley Talk. My name is Ray Johns. The name of the show is Ray Johns American Patriot. Like we said last week, we've changed the name. But before I get into that, let me do this. I have been receiving so many wonderful calls from people. I am on my way back to recovering from some challenges that I had. I'm doing much, much better. As you can probably see, people tell me I look better. I hope I do. Anyway, I want to thank so many people. I wish I had time to list all of you. I just got a ton of calls, well-wishers all this week. I got 3 on the way to the show today, and just thank you all so much for your concern. I can't begin to tell you how heartfelt, how wonderful it is to know that people care. You're wonderful. I love all of you. Now, last week we changed the name of the show, and we explained that it's still the same format, with the exception that every single week we're going to feature an American patriot. Well, I got several calls from people wanting to know about last week, so I'm just going to touch on it really briefly. Last week's first American patriot was Molly Pitcher, and she was the woman during the Revolutionary War who carried pitchers of water to the soldiers, and she cooled off the cannon that her husband fired. He was shot. She took over the cannon, and she fought during the war. That was Molly Pitcher. You can look it up. It's a great story. Our American patriot for this week is John Lewis Cook. He's a Native American who was the highest-ranking Native American who fought in the Revolutionary War. He had several encounters with George Washington. He was with George Washington at Valley Forge. He sent him to Niagara Falls to stave off an attack there, and he was very, very successful. He was actually part African American, but he was mostly Mohawk Indian. After the war, he became an advisor for the Indians, and he was very, very successful in getting some of the tribal lands back to the Indians. He ended up, unfortunately, he was elderly, but he was such a great patriot. He wanted to help the Americans during 1812, and he was killed during the Battle of 1812 against the British. He was so our feature this week, our great American this week, is John Lewis Cook. Look him up. It's a great, great story. We're going to do this every single week, and I'm learning so much. We're going to have it. And by the way, sitting right here next to me is another great American patriot.
I know, right?
Gary Miguel is back with us to inform us, to help us, as he always does. And I can't think of a better American patriot than him. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right.
Well, we're back. We've got so much to talk about. I've got to tell you something here real quick that you don't even know. Gary and I didn't have a chance to talk very much before the show. Usually we're here a little bit early, and we do, but today I was a little bit late. Anyway, on the way here and prior to, I had a couple of calls about Donald Trump and what was said about Haiti and about Donald Trump totally denied that. You know, I mean, it's his word against 2 other people that were in the room. Ladies and gentlemen, do your due diligence. Do not jump on the fact that CNN jumps on this and says, Donald Trump, oh my God. I had a call from a guy that says, how can you back this man? He's such a racist. You know, he's against Haiti. He's against South America. He's against Africa. All this stuff they're rambling. What do you think about this, Gary?
Well, I think that's exactly what the libtards want you to think.
Exactly.
All right, but let's look at another way. Talk about racists.
Okay.
Trump made that statement and has got this uproar right now.
Mm-hmm. Or supposedly made this statement.
Or supposedly made it. I don't care if he did.
Yeah.
Quite frankly.
Yeah.
The point is, when you consider the fact now what he has got people doing is thinking about DACA.
Mm-hmm.
And then people are starting to ask the question, well, yeah, I know that's racist, but do I really want this scum coming into my country? I don't care from what country they come from.
Yeah.
I don't care if they come from Siberia.
Yeah.
You see? So what they do, the uniparty meaning both Democrats and Republican, they try to make it a racist.
Absolutely.
And Trump sits there and he's got everybody thinking right now. 70% of the people don't want any of these people in. Why? Because they're sitting their worst, not their best.
As Mexico was earlier. And then people went crazy, but look what was happening. Look what was happening.
I'll tell you what racist is. What I think as racist. Racist is when you treat somebody differently and expect you should treat them differently because you think them to be inferior.
Absolutely, Gary. Great term. Absolutely. Perfect.
That's the racist.
Absolutely. Perfectly.
Trump's not
put.
racist
Yeah.
at all. In fact, just the opposite.
Oh, but
or he wouldn't say what he said. If he was racist, he would not say what he said.
Oh, absolutely.
He's looking at, I mean, isn't it obvious that from these particular countries, not just Nigeria, not just Haiti, but anywhere, I don't care where, isn't it obvious that you don't want the worst coming into our country?
From any country, ladies and gentlemen, from any country.
Right. So if you're...
It can be Canada. We don't want the worst of Canada's got.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with race in that... But you are racist. When you come over to tell me about Trump and start telling me, well, by God, he's not treating those people differently. He's treating them like everybody else. He doesn't want anything in there that is going to hurt the American people.
I knew I was going to get some calls. When that came in there, I said, oh, boy.
Well, I just turned it around, and I just sat there, and I said, no, wait a minute. Trump's not racist, you are.
Well, first of all, he came right out and said, that's not what I said, and you know it's not.
Well, of course not.
You know, it's not what he said.
But they're trying hard to, I mean, they're just running out of room to try the stock market up another couple hundred points today.
Oh, yeah.
People are getting wealthier without doing anything.
Ladies and gentlemen, take a look at what's like Gary said. Take a look at the stock market. People are getting wealthier. This economy is going up. We're all going to make money in this year. 2018 is going to be a great year for all of us, And why do you think that is,
Well, I tell you, I know how you feel about it because you've told me. Mm-hmm. And it's the way I feel like as an American, we all should feel this way. If somebody comes up to me because of my nationality or from my origin, ancestor-wise, and says that, well, for you people, we're going to do this, I stop them right there.
Exactly.
I say, no, you treat me as you would everyone else.
Absolutely.
One of the most unequal thing is when you try to make everyone equal. Mm-hmm. That's what you call inequality.
Yeah.
Trying to make everyone equal is not equal.
Yeah.
It's not. In fact, it's not fair.
No, it's not. It really isn't.
So why is it then that we should be unfair?
Very good point.
What forces us or makes us think we should be unfair? So anybody with all that, Trump knows this. As far as what's going on right now, people are talking about it, as you mentioned. They call you, but they're going to have to think. Wait a minute. Do I want thugs coming into this country from El Salvador?
Absolutely. So what do? We just open.
I want the kind of criminals that coming in here from Mexico that come in here and kill our people?
And start more gangs? Do we need that?
Start more gangs? No, he's not racist. He's protecting you, the American people.
Gary, why can't they see this? Why can't they see it?
Because they've been indoctrinated.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Right.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, they've been indoctrinated, and these people, I get back to this. If the Democrats, or that side, what I call them racists, I call the uniparty Republicans racist, okay?
Because it's both. You're right.
Okay, now, if in fact they were racist, they would treat everybody equal. They don't care what color you are.
Yep.
What does that have to do with it anyway? They make it a big deal.
Good point.
Why even stress color, period?
Yeah, exactly. What's the point?
I mean, it just... people aren't colorblind,
Yeah.
and neither are the blacks colorblind. They've been indoctrinated into thinking that I'm inferior.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
If
yeah.
the Democrats were so good for the black people, then why is it that we have ghettos primarily filled with black people?
Exactly.
There would be none.
And it's gone on for years, and it continues to go on. And Donald Trump is doing something about that.
Exactly.
He's already started doing things about that. Look at what's happening out there.
Well, Ray, if you sit there and you get, been indoctrinated forever thinking that I'm inferior, and being told you're inferior, and being expected that you're entitled to this and that, and aren't you being segregated?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you've been told you're a duck long enough, you start to waddle.
You start to waddle.
You
So I think people have been brainwashed, and all this uproar, those phone calls you got, believe me, just because of lack.
I got 3 of them on the way here.
But lack of really understanding what it is.
Exactly what it is. Lack of really understanding what it is. Yep.
And they've been indoctrinated into feeling that anybody that says what Trump says, which has nothing to do with race, has everything to do with protection of the American people.
One of the dearest friends I got in the world called me up, and I'm driving over here, and I'm thinking about the show. I don't want to think about anything, but I saw his name, so naturally I'm going to answer the phone. So I said, hello. Here's what he said immediately. So, what do you think about what the racist Trump said? I said, Bob, this is my good friend Bob, who's in Oklahoma, I mean, he's ready right now. I mean, he's already got everything all situated. He's a real liberal. I love him to death. Known him since we were 6 years old. But he is so liberal. He is so anti-Trump. It's pathetic. He's like one of these people that are just waiting for the hammer to fall. And they take advantage of everything that they can.
Well, what he doesn't realize, he's being saved.
No, isn't that sad too?
Well, listen. Wasn't Jesus Christ on earth trying to save people?
Absolutely.
And didn't he get crucified for doing so?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You think that he had, everybody, wherever he was walking around with that donkey, everybody in the world agreeing with him?
No.
No, he
not
was
at all.
being fought like crazy.
Oh, yeah.
To the point that he even crucified him.
Oh, people hate change, for one thing. They get comfortable,
And all he was trying to do was to save them.
Yeah. He was a way short.
Okay, here's the thing you got. You got a billionaire, self-made, okay? He's not taking any salary. It doesn't cost you anything. Mm-mm. And he's dedicated to save the United States of America.
He can't be bought. He doesn't need anything.
Now, contrast that with the politician that the only reason he's there is for himself.
Exactly.
Not for the people, because had he been for the people, there wouldn't be all these
special
poor
interests, so they get paid. Exactly,
right.
Gary.
Exactly. So Trump is just the total opposite of what a lot of people think. And I'm not so sure that they're ever going to change their mind, but I do know this. I don't care if they all change their mind. Here's what I care. I hope that there's at least 51% that see the light.
I think they're starting to see it. You and I talked about it before. It is starting to. You are starting to see some of the libtards kind of wake up and
there's a thing though that when you think I just read just before I came, 70% of the people really do agree with the idea of not bringing people in here unless they can contribute, rather than the opposite and killing some of our own Americans.
Is that so difficult?
Well, 70% maybe the guy that called you even thinks that, man, I don't want those people around me.
Yeah.
But he's going to come in here.
But
listen, Ray, he only represents, let's just say 49%. Mm-hmm. So long as we got 51%.
As long as we got to 51, we're okay. And hopefully that's going to grow, and I'm sure it will.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about it. And obviously you'd like to have people see the light, and a lot of them do. And there's people that are waking up. But this case right here, I guarantee you, just the people that are doing the most screeching and hollering and so forth, and that was planned that way by the Uniparty about Trump's racism. They want to play that race card.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, that goes clear back. They play the race card clear back on Reagan and so forth.
Oh, of course
I mean, they always play the race card.
Any Republican, it's the first thing,
They play the race card. But it was the Democrats it was the Republicans that got black suffrage, civil rights, segregation.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It was the Democrats that had all that,
Yeah.
and the Republicans did away with it.
Yeah.
And the Democrats keep saying, I'm talking about white Democrats, which I think is mentally something wrong. They got white guilt or something.
Mm-hmm.
But they think they're supposed to treat somebody that's not their color differently, and that's because they think that somebody not their color is inferior.
Absolutely. Where did affirmative action come from back
Exactly.
40 years ago? You know, and boy, did I hate that. I mean, it's affirmative action, busing, all that crap because you weren't quite good enough. So let's do this, and this to make you equal.
Right.
Bull crap.
Yeah. So I looked at that, and I'd seen all that uproar that's going to go on here for a little bit. But Trump wanted people to start thinking about because this DACA thing is going backwards.
Yeah.
And Trump wants people to start thinking, now, do you really want those people in here? Go look at the videos.
Yeah.
Go look at the videos of Haiti. Go look at the videos of El Salvador with that gang infested. Mm-hmm. Go look at the videos in Mexico City right now. Just a town outside of Mexico City, they had a horrible massacre. How would you feel if you lived in that community?
I have a friend who has a son in the military in El Paso, and right across is Juarez. Now,
right.
What does this tell you? The Army will not allow, you get court-martial if you go over there. That's how bad it is in Juarez. The soldiers are you can walk across the border. They're not allowed to go over there. What does that tell you about Mexico?
Well, if you want to live like, have a country that's like Mexico, that's like El Salvador, that's like Haiti, that's like any country that is a S-hole country,
Yeah.
Is the word that they claim Trump used. If you want a country like that, then you just let these people
That's
keep coming in.
That's exactly what will happen.
And that's exactly what will happen.
In
fact, it already has happened and been going on for a long time.
We have enough to do right now in this country cleaning up our own gang mess that we have here. We don't need to add to that, and that's exactly what's going to happen. You let these people in, it's going to add to the problem that already exists today.
Yeah. So I think that when I hear somebody make the comment, Trump's a racist, my first question is, no, you are. Mm-hmm. And here's why you are. Because you think that somebody, just because they're of their color, should be treated differently.
First of all, Gary, I mean, for these people are my thing. Every time somebody comes and hits me with that stuff, I said, "Where'd you hear that?" Well, it was on CNN.
Well,
it was?
Yeah.
It was in the Wall Street Journal. Oh, it was? It was in the Washington Post. Oh, well, that makes it gospel.
Yeah.
My goodness.
But here's the thing that you could do, and I've done a little bit of it. You ask someone that voted for Trump and ask them would they vote for him again. And I've never had anybody say no.
No.
But you ask somebody, would you vote for Hillary again? And I've had a number of them say no, I
Absolutely.
wouldn't. So why worry about it?
And I've done that too, and you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
Well, Hillary, we would be on
gosh.
a handcart of Venezuela, and all you got to do is look at a video.
You nailed it. You nailed it 6 months ago when you said we were on our way toward communism.
Right.
There's 8 steps, and we'd already completed 7. You know, the 8th was her getting elected.
Right. And that's what people. And I found this to be true. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter how much education you have, how much IQ you have, and all the rest. If you're afflicted with a libtardism, it's no different than you caught the flu.
Yeah.
Because there's something not right.
Yeah.
You're not thinking right, your judgment's not right, or something's wrong. Because how can you be for what that really represents and what you are really heading for? All you have to do is look at Russia. They did it.
Oh, absolutely.
And they did for 70 years. And there was 56 million people estimated that was killed, put to death, basically by being sent to the labor camps of Siberia. Mm-hmm. Okay, now who were those people? They were the useful idiots, which is the same kind of people that are promoting Hillary Clinton.
Absolutely.
It's the same mindset because those people, they were of useful idiots.
Expendable.
Yeah.
I love that
And
word.
they're the first ones that go.
Absolutely.
Same thing with China. When Mao took over there with the Red Guard, what did he get rid of? He put them out working in the fields and so forth. The useful idiots.
Sure.
And we have useful idiots.
Yes, we do.
And these people, the Democrats, use them for getting them in power. And what do they get when they get in power? I mean, you talk Hillary Clinton that's never done anything but government. How in the world did she amass $145 million in just one deal as an employee of the government?
Absolutely. What is that? I want that job.
Yeah, I want that job.
Yeah.
You know, and it's so corrupt and it's so deep, the corruption.
I am so glad that we are finally starting to investigate the Clinton Foundation, by the way.
Well, Ray, there's a bigger thing that's big, don't get me wrong, but there's something even bigger. And we came this close to failing, and that is the weaponization by the Obama administration of the FBI, the CIA, and the DOJ.
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
And there was a coup d'etat attempt, and it was blocked, and we will forever owe gratitude to a guy named Roger Miller, who he's a admiral, and he was part of.
Oh, this is real interesting, Gary. Yeah.
You know, he was part of the FBI or the CIA and all that. But anyway, he seen what was going on, and he went to Trump, which he was military and chain of command. But he broke the chain of command and went to Trump and warned Trump what was going on in the takeover that was about to happen here in the United States. The country would have been taken over.
Oh, my gosh.
See, does CNN talk about it? No.
No, you don't hear about it.
No, and that's so huge because that was, in fact, the overthrow of the deal.
Yeah.
So Trump moved from the tower after meeting with him. He moved his campaign from the tower to one of his golf courses there in New Jersey because he was warned that he was being surveilled. That surveillance was taken by a dossier that was paid for by the Clinton campaign as well as the FBI to dig up dirt on Trump. And they took
Well, I heard a part of that, yeah.
So they took the dossier to go to the FISA, which that's where you get permission to unmask American people to spy on. And they used that fake dossier that was paid for by the Clinton campaign, the FBI, and among some others, and they used that to approve the surveillance of Trump.
That is much bigger than the Clinton Foundation.
Well,
I see what you said.
It's a turnover of the government.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we came that close to that happening. Had it not been for this Roger guy, Admiral Roger, I think his last name.
Talk about an American patriot.
Now, there's a patriot. I'd like to talk about him someday.
Yeah, really, we must.
Well, we owe so much to him. It's
oh, my gosh, Gary,
you
yes.
can't pay it. And so that has got the whole thing now to where you're going to see more and more about it. But you're not going to get it on the media because the media is 95% uniparty
Well,
owned.
of course it is.
And owned by the club.
Yeah. I mean, every time we say that, we go back to Soros and all those people who own CNN and who owns the Washington Post and the Wall Street Journal.
I mean, I was watching that deal, and I've been following that, and
that is really interesting.
It's so scary, it's not even funny.
It is scary.
And you go right in. Now, I'll tell you another hero that's turning out to be a hero is Devin Nunes, which is the
Absolutely. I agree with you.
boy.
Yeah.
I mean, I know his family and all that,
Oh, do you? Yeah.
And,
let's talk a little bit about him. Okay.
Well, the thing about him is I have to, his nationality is Portuguese, and every culture has its own, right? Well, I happen to be raised in that culture, myself being Portuguese, right? And anyway, I happen to know a little bit about how that works. and a guy like Devin Nunes going way back, his deal is your word and your handshake. And what you cannot tolerate is any kind of corruption, crookedness, or something like that. And that's why he's a bulldog.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can't be bought at a certain,
Yeah.
And I just know what that culture's like, and I know how the people are in that. Yeah, they're business people in this and that, But I do know that when you look some guy in the eye that's from that nationality, and you tell him you're going to deliver that motorhome for $30,000, and then you turn around later and try to get him for $35,000.
Oh yeah, it's not going to work.
It's not going to work.
No.
And I think.
Thank goodness we have people.
Oh yeah, I mean, a guy that has a lot of integrity.
Yeah.
And what he'll do is just stay, on this until because he understands it's the same thing that we all do.
Yeah.
He's raised here just like you were out in Chowchilla, and you happen to be down there south of Tulare, and he in the dairy, and he knows what that's all about.
Sure.
Nothing's black and white. You got to have, common sense.
Yeah.
And so he loves this country like we do.
Yeah. Yes, he does.
And he sees,
shows that.
And he sees what's happening. And he's in a position of power to do something about it. And that's what he's doing. And so he's turning out. He's got to have a lot of help, but he's turning out to be a big asset.
You're right. He is a local hero.
And then you look at there again. There's a number of them, but boy, when you look at the other side of those people and see who they are and what they're doing, and you're talking about this country, there was a coup d'etat in effect and came within that close of being exposed or being successful. They never dreamed that this would all come out, or they wouldn't have said and done what they did.
Oh, well, of course not.
Of course not. So you got some people that are in real jeopardy right now. There's about 20. And I have to think that's probably going to end. It goes way down, like, for instance, how corrupt the FBI was. Something that we think of as
look at the DOJ. There's another one. Oh, my gosh.
Look at the CIA.
Yeah.
And there's two factions there. There's the Patriots, and then there's those that are for the overthrow of the country. And they see their gain. And so I had this explained to me, and in detail, I won't get into it, but it's every bit as critical as the Revolutionary War, whether we're going to be British or not. It's every bit as critical as the Civil War, whether we were going to be a federation of the Confederates or whether we were going to be a republic. Okay, that was a critical moment in America.
Yes.
Okay, another critical moment in America was World War II. I mean, we could be speaking German right now,
or Japanese.
Yeah. And then this right now is the most critical period, and history books someday will show that we came within this close of going to Venezuela on a handcar, if you want to get right down to it.
I'm sure it will.
And
it's so true.
Yeah, and it's a one government control, but the people in power of these common countries are tremendously wealthy. People don't realize that. For instance, like a Hillary Clinton. How in the world does she get that wealthy working for the government all her life? Doesn't make sense, does it? Well, it does make sense when you realize how crooked and corrupt these governments can be. And the United States is very close to becoming a banana-type government, that close. So when a guy like Trump come along, well, he'd been thinking for 30 years about, he says, man, I hope somebody does this. I hope somebody straightens this out.
No one did.
And no one ever did, so he decided to do it. He's not thinking, I mean, how in the world can you go hire somebody that has that kind of acumen, gets the right people? All the people that go to work for those communist countries, they're all corrupt. That's how that works.
Exactly.
It's all for them. They're not thinking about the people. But Trump goes in there and he surrounds himself with these other business people like himself, are wealthy. They don't need the money.
No.
In fact, they're working for nothing.
Same situation. Cannot be bought. I
Yeah,
mean, don't you realize what's going on in this
Yeah,
government?
how can you throw rocks at somebody that is qualified? Now, that'd be like you're getting ready for a heart operation. Now you got a guy here that veterinary knows how to operate. All he's ever operated on is dogs, and you got another one here that operates on hearts.
Yeah.
Well, which one are you
Kind
going
of
to
a
hire?
no-brainer, isn't it?
Yeah, kind of a no-brainer. And you got somebody here that wants to run the country that knows nothing but corruption and crookedness, and you got somebody here that is looking out for you, number one, to the point that doesn't even require any pay,
Yeah.
and then goes through all that his torture that he's been gone through, and his family,
Exactly. He's put his family through
And
all
he-
of this crap.
and he's
You know,
proven by the stock market going up to the point it is. And how about the GDP? It was
Yeah.
1.2, 1.5. They thought it'd never get to 3. He gets to 3 in 1 year.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, come
In
on.
1 year.
Just look at the qualifications, and if you don't like the guy, I don't care. So it's too bad you don't. In fact, you don't have to. No. In fact, you don't have to. That's the other side.
No,
of it.
you don't. Look at
Yeah.
the results.
Yeah,
you know?
when somebody sits there and says, "Well, I don't like Donald Trump," yeah, but do you like the results?
Of course they do.
You don't have to like him.
Yeah. Ridiculous, isn't it? Gary, we're gonna take a little break here, and we'll come back. We got some good stuff going today, don't we?
Yes, we do.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in say 2 and 2.
Me and I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. God bless the USA.
Okay, I'm back here with Gary again. And by the way, I want to tell you that if you feel like calling in, call in. We'd love to get callers. You got a question for Gary, a question for me, or just a question in general, please call in. We'd love to hear from you. Gary?
Yeah, Ray, I want to mention last Friday after I left here, I went to the 194th Fighter Squadron.
I remember you were going to go to that. How did that go, buddy?
It was interesting in the fact that when I went out there,
Gary's a pilot, by the way, an ex-pilot, or a
And-
pilot. He's a pilot.
anyway, I looked at those, I call them kids, flying those $15 million airplanes, and I'm thinking, man, these kids should be on a bicycle delivering newspapers. They look so young.
They look so young, yeah.
And so, and then I got to think. Well, at one time, that's what
You were
that's
that
what somebody
young.
was saying about me, you know. And but at the time, I never once felt that I was too young to be doing this.
That must have been so much fun. I can't imagine how much fun.
Well,
it
it's a lot of work. I mean,
yeah.
and there's a lot of. It's a tough deal with those. You're pulling G's, and let me tell you, you get old quick with that one. You know.
Oh, yeah.
There's been people that have been at it a little bit too long, and all of a sudden they find their organs have been shifted all over.
Oh, it's so much. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Oh my gosh.
well,
that makes
it's a lot of
sense.
work. You know, flying the airplane part is really, it's almost like you don't even think about it. It's because you're so busy with everything else, you know, like tactics and all this. But anyway, I couldn't help but think about it. I said, man, these kids look like kids. And I got to thinking, well, my God, that's what I looked like to somebody at one time. And then I thought, well, you know what? At the time, I never did think I was too young. But when you hear but people hear those things making noise over there, we used to have a night exercise and once a month, and we fly all night, you know. And of course, it's going to roaring over Fresno, you know. And
You're across this country in no time in one of those, aren't you?
well, yeah. I mean, if you have fuel, you got
Yeah.
you got to stop for fuel, but I mean, I was flying like this one airplane. I'd fly it right at transonic, which is 0.93, just under the speed of sound, you know, because I didn't want to
Speed
go
of
to the
sound is
speed
what,
of sound.
650 miles per hour?
I don't know. Yeah, it was 1.0 Mach, and on the
Oh
meter,
my gosh.
you know, if I put it at 0.97 or 95, say at 93, 95, then I'm not going to be breaking it, because when you break the speed of sound and you start sucking up fuel in the heartbeat.
Oh, do you?
Oh,
Wow,
yeah. You really cranks up the fuel
Yeah.
consumption, you know, so you'd keep it underneath where you're just about supersonic going across, you know. And I made it from here to Laredo in an hour, 45-minute flying time, but I'm talking about flying because I had to stop in Arizona and get fuel and go on, but I kept it right at 6.93.
That is just moving, isn't it?
Well, you don't really notice it. You're so high, and it.
Yeah.
You know, the only way you notice it, and they're not.
Is that when you're coming in, or when you're?
Well, you're not
taking
going to
off?
be flying supersonic down low
Yeah,
anyway. You know, and of course you are flying fast, but it catches up. You'll catch up to it. You know, it's like a race car driver. You know, it takes him a little while. The first thing you know, he's waiting for the corner.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And so, but anyway, one guy has to man the phone at night during these night exercises, and you always hated to do that because you're going to get callers, irate callers.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Because of the noise.
oh my Lord! And it was my turn the first time, and I said, God, what do I tell these people? You know. And he says, and this older guy there had been it before. He said to me, he says, "You tell them they hadn't heard noise till one of those things stopped making noise."
That's right. Yeah, that makes sense.
He said another one. He says, "Tell me, oh, ma'am, you're listening to the sound of freedom." But anyway,
That must have been interesting though out there with all those pilots. You know.
yeah, there was guys my era, and we had all the different eras and the different. It's pretty interesting, yeah, and you know, I mean, everyone out there had all flown at one time, supersonic fighters, you know, and the tactics of today, and of course the airplanes.
Has it changed a lot? Have they changed a lot?
Well,
the
the
planes,
technology has changed tremendously, you know.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
The thing is, the planes are a lot easier to fly now, and they're a lot safer.
Oh, that's good.
You know, and but they're a lot easier in the sense that you got so much being taken care of for you that you had to do in the past. You know?
Wow, that is it. All.
Well, for instance, let's just say cross country, man. I had out a chart and I had a protractor and I'm figuring, you know, my fuel. Well, it's all automatic now, you know.
Oh, that's got to be a big plus.
You know, there's a number of things, but it's still it's a lot of work. You come down, your flight suit is wet. I'll put it that way because you've been sweating that much.
Yeah,
and you know the tactics are hard because you're talking about pulling a lot of G's and then none. You know, I'll give you an example. Like if I start pulling G's, I'll put back pressure enough and pull enough, I can just look straight out. And pretty soon I'll see my eyes. It goes gray.
Oh my gosh.
You know, it'll be gray, and then pretty soon I keep pulling, and then black, and then as soon as I release it, daylight again.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Gary.
You know,
I can see why you, like you said, your organs sometimes.
Well,
get
I mean,
shifted.
you're not being kind to your body.
My goodness, I had no idea.
Yeah, it's not like you're sitting in an airliner seat. You know?
Yeah.
You get and it's violent in there. You jerk around because everything's very abrupt. You know, when you make a turn, you don't just.
It's not all smooth.
Boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom, pow, pow.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
I don't know. It's a one of a kind experience. I think that any kid that has the opportunity at that age to do so, I can't think of anything better to do at that age than that.
Yeah.
I got a grandkid right now that he's 13, and his grandfather was also a fighter pilot in the Navy. And then myself being a fighter pilot, he's got what they call a legacy, and I'm hoping that he decides to do that for about 5 years at least or something.
Great.
Well,
great
I can't
kid
think
for
of
a
anything
kid.
better to do at that age.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, let's have some fun for a while.
Oh, heck yeah.
In fact, what they say
How
out
young are they, Gary, when they start doing this? How young?
Well, you're going to get back here probably. Well, you're going to go to pilot training probably anywhere is 21, 22, 23. So
How long does that take, pilot training?
1 year.
1 year.
Yeah, and then you go 6 months to combat, where you learn the actual pilot training is learning how to fly the plane. There's no tactics or nothing, but you go to combat for 6 months to the type of airplane you're going to be using or assigned to, and then that's where you learn all the tactics for about 6 months. And the flying thing, and they'll tell you right off the bat, it says the government isn't spending millions of dollars to teach you how to fly an airplane. Your job is to learn how to do something with it.
Makes sense.
You know, well, it sure does. And but it's an interesting. Yeah, it's a club. You know, I mean, wherever you go, this Fresno 194th is one of the top in the nation year in and year out.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. That's interesting.
Oh, it nails Air Force squadrons.
Yeah.
Other Guard units are pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, let's face it, guys go in the Guard it's usually after they've been in the Air Force or in the Navy, and they're experienced and they're good, but they want to keep flying, so they go into something like that. Well, you're going to get the best.
Oh yeah. That's good for us to know, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's great. Right now, the Guard out there is very young, and they're just so happy that way. I talked to the commander, and he said, "Yeah, we don't have the right mix of mid-management in there, and these kids are all pretty green right now, and they're getting ready to be sent out on deployment because of the Korean deal, which is another thing. Trump's kept that Korean from sending a bomb here in the United States right now. I guarantee if Hillary was in there, she'd either be paying through the nose or he'd have one earmarked for.
I want to talk to you about something and I want your opinion on this. I meant to talk to you about it before the show. We didn't get a chance. What do you think about North Korea sending people to the Olympics? I was shocked at that.
Yeah. I tell you, anytime you can get North Korea to interact with the rest of the world, I think it's good.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. South Korea's excited about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a shame that country is divided. There isn't just one Korea, and eventually it will be one.
I think so too.
Yeah. But so far, I'm somewhat encouraged by what's going on.
I am too.
I
am too, buddy.
And I think we're on the right track there so far. But I also know that Korea knows that we're not going to mess around otherwise.
Yeah.
I mean, they're again leadership,
Yeah.
And people have to look at another thing too, is also the stock market. Look at the people that are benefiting economically. And we haven't seen anything yet.
No, we haven't. We're on the
you and I talked about a deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, there's going to be the average American is going to be able to participate in ways he never ever dreamed, and I know of this vehicle, which you do too now, and I've explained it. And,
outstanding vehicle too.
And every American that would go on this type of program that we talked about or we know about, your retirement, whatever it is, should be double by the time you retire.
Yeah.
So let's say, as an example, if you estimate your retirement's going to be $500,000, well, with this vehicle, it'll be worth $1 million.
Yeah. If not more.
If not more. And that's all because of Trump.
Yeah.
And that
absolutely.
And that doesn't mean that it's select only for these or that. It's for the guy that's sitting there in the ghetto and decides to get out.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. That's what I want people to know and understand.
It is universal. It doesn't look and say, well, let's see, you're a Hispanic, so well there, then you're a black, you're here, okay, and then you're a Chinese, you're here, and you're a white, you're here. No, it's everybody.
Everybody, every American.
Every American. There's no question as to what nationality, what race, or whatever the hell you are. You know what I mean? So I can't see how better opportunity right now for people starting right now.
It is a great opportunity for people. And it's, I hope people will start realizing it and doing their due diligence and take a look at what's going on in this country.
Well, they got to stop watching CNN.
Absolutely, they do.
They got to stop watching these programs that are just feeding them with absolute total garbage.
Yeah, because I'm tired of getting these crazy phone calls.
and this garbage is being fed by the people who are benefiting by these people not succeeding. You see what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, who in the world would not want to have to pay what the taxes they've been paying? Wouldn't they like to pay for less? That means you get more money yourself. Why would you be voting for somebody that wants to increase your taxes? I mean, how do you benefit? You don't.
No.
You don't benefit. Well, maybe there's a little bit.
It's kind of a no-brainer, isn't it? I mean, come on, people.
It doesn't make sense. So the more money you keep, and the more opportunity you have, and the more. Look at the job creation. I just looked at Chrysler is now relocating $1 billion company from Mexico back to the United
Yes.
States. It's going to amount to, what is it, 4,000 jobs or something like that?
Something like that, 4,000
I mean,
jobs.
doesn't that benefit you?
Oh, well, heck yeah, it does.
I mean, in one way or another, it
Yes.
benefits you.
Yeah.
Well, can't people see that?
Yeah.
Why would you want it the other way? Yeah. Why would you want it to be globalists where they're sucking the money from you instead of bringing the money available so that you can do it? If you exercise, you got to exercise something. You got to work.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of work that people do, it is work they enjoy.
Sure.
So and plus, it gives you a better feeling when you are taking care of yourself. Don't you feel better than having somebody handing out all the time?
Oh, absolutely.
You think more of yourself.
Sure.
Yeah.
Self-pride.
Well, and that's what's great about America, and that's the point of the freedom. Now, I guarantee you that would have been taken away with Hillary.
Oh, absolutely it would have.
In a heartbeat. And it's, I think the stock market right now it's 25,000, actually 26,000.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 25,700 or something.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, right now, and I follow that. If Hillary had been elected, I mean, I could see where the different levels are. It would be down right because it was 18,000 when Trump went in. It'd probably be around 10 today, maybe even lower.
Maybe even lower.
Yeah, and so everybody, rising tide raises all ships. Even if you are a libtard, your boat gets raised too. But I think that the people want to maybe educate themselves with a little bit. It's tough to find on any other news station maybe than Fox News. But there's got to be, people have to understand just how close this country came to being subverted, and the people who were involved in it.
Yeah,
they should know.
Sure, they should. I agree totally.
And this is coming out, although you can't. They don't mention it on the networks. But my Lord, if you're talking about America being a different country altogether, it would be. And had these people had their way about it.
Yeah.
And what it was that's what this Russia investigation is all about. Mm-hmm. But what they didn't realize that by them investigating Trump, they were exposing themselves.
That's exactly what happened. Everything got turned around.
Well, remember how we said Trump just kept putting the rope out there?
Absolutely. Giving them a little bit more, and that's exactly what happened.
And boy, we came close. And it's not over yet. Well, it is. I mean, they're not going to be able to take it over like they thought they were.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting because it goes all the way up to Obama.
Mm-hmm.
But then Obama was nothing but a puppet, so it goes beyond that. Soros.
Yeah.
But Soros is not alone.
Of course he is.
And you take that, they call it the big club. You'd be surprised the members of the big club. George Bush, the Bush family.
Yeah.
And the Rockefellers.
Oh, yeah.
And the Rothschilds. Mm-hmm. And the Bill Gates of the country. And the Amazon guy. Mm-hmm. And, they benefit.
Yeah, of course they do.
We've said it's so simple. Well, Ray, by God, let's go make this stuff over there in China, get it done cheap, send it over here, and sell it.
For a major profit.
Yeah.
It's been going on for years.
Yeah.
How sad.
And on top of that, a trade deficit. And I had an interesting deal the other day about the tax guy. This guy was a conservative. Mm-hmm. He says, yeah, but I worry about this Trump tax deal could add $1 trillion to the debt, the national debt. And he says, he's telling me, he says, I'm worried about that another $1 trillion being added to the national debt. I said, you're worried about $1 trillion being added to the national debt? Yeah, I am. I'm concerned about it. It's $20 trillion. Mm-hmm. I says, well, let me ask you, how come you didn't worry about the $10 trillion Obama added to the debt?
Exactly. Yeah, that's when you should have been worried.
Yeah, you should have been worried because when Obama took over, it was $10 trillion. Mm-hmm. Now I didn't hear you squawk about it.
Yeah, he doubled it.
Yeah,
and
now you're worried about Trump adding $1 trillion? If in fact it even adds, I think it's going to go the other way.
I do too. I do too.
But it's interesting how people are, isn't it? He sat there, boy, he was just telling me about how worried he was about adding $1 trillion, but he didn't worry about that $10 trillion that Obama added.
Yeah.
Where were you then?
Yeah, really. Yeah, where were you then? Oh boy. Well, Gary, looking at the time, it's winding down here, buddy.
Yeah.
Like it always does when you come. Things just fly by.
Well,
And every time Gary comes,
visiting with you.
Can you come back next week?
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have, and I want you to come that day too, by the way, we're going to have one of Fresno's finest on here for a few minutes. He can only come for a little while, not next week, but probably in about 3 weeks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've lined up. He's going to come and sit down and talk to us.
Oh,
and
wonderful.
He's up a little bit high, so
Yeah.
and he's been out in the street, and so I think it'd be an interesting part
great.
of the show.
God,
and you
that
and
would
I,
be
yeah,
fun.
you and I definitely want you to be here on that day.
That would be great.
So we're kind of winding it down, and I want to tell you that I continue every single day, and sometimes I got to seek one out to try to find a policeman to walk up and shake his hand and tell him how much we appreciate him. And I want everybody out there to do that. Let's start making them know how valuable they are to us, because they are. They're Fresno's finest. Talk to a policeman, talk to a sheriff's deputy, a highway patrolman. Anyone in law enforcement, let them know that we appreciate what they do, because we do, and they do the things that we don't do. Thank goodness we have them.
And here's the thing I guarantee you will feel better.
Oh, thank you,
After
Gary,
you
for
leave.
saying that. Gary's
If
doing
you're
it.
having the worst day of the worst day of the
Absolutely.
week, and if you go and do that one thing, I guarantee you will feel better.
I'm so glad he said that, because about a couple of weeks ago, I had to go to CVS Pharmacy, and my pharmacy is at the corner of Knees and Willow and Knees over there, CVS. So I went over. I did not feel like even going. I just wanted to go home after my doctor's appointment, but I had to pick up this prescription, and I went there. I remember sitting in the car, and I was exhausted because of all this stuff I'm taking. I didn't want to go, and I was sitting there, and a policeman pulled up, and I guess he was going in to get into the drugstore. And he got out of the car, and I got out of the car, and he said, "How are you doing?" I said, "Wait a minute, I want to talk to you." And he kind of laughed, and we talked, and we ended up talking. And I tell you, I walked in there feeling much better after that. And
that's how that
we
works.
shook hands. He ended up putting
Right.
his arms around me, and he said, "Thank you very much. I needed that."
Boy, if you're having a down day,
they
feeling
appreciate
bad,
it. They really, really do appreciate it.
They appreciate it tremendously, but guess what? You feel great.
You feel great. Gary's absolutely right. So make a point of doing that, going up and talking to him. Like we said, now the new name of the show, and you know that, is Ray John's American Patriot. And every single week we're gonna feature a new Patriot. And our first two have been great. I have no idea who it's going to be next week. I'm going to get out and do some work and find out. Last week, right after the show, I started messing around. I came up with Cook. So I'm probably going to do that a little bit later on the day if I feel like it. Anyway, I just want you to know how good it is to be back, how good it is to have Gary back, and I'm doing much, much better. And thanks again for all the calls. I can't tell you enough how many calls. There were just so many. I wish I had time to name all the people. So let me just end by saying, as I do every week, until we meet joyously next Friday at 3 p.m., heaven's blessings.
From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining
CentralValleyTalk.com